So, um, personally, so I think just going through I personally think that, um, actually going through medical like treatment facilities, so like a detox, and allowing yourself that space to um, really recover. I think there's something mentally healing about it, and physically um, really giving your mm, what's the word, really um I'm trying to think of the word, but kind of like you're powerless, so you're just kind of giving yourself that time to really heal. um
Right.
and
Surrendering to it.
yeah, really surrendering to it. So I mean, I believe everyone's journey looks different, like when they finally have surrendered to that, fully being powerless over their addiction. So I think that can look different for everyone. Like you said, like their socioeconomic background can really like influence that. So if they have all the means in the world, um, actually arriving to detox steps can be a little bit different. I mean, probably feels a lot different. I don't know that journey because that wasn't part of my journey, but for me, I needed a long-term program. So, and again, this can be individualized to everyone. Some people can benefit from like a 21-day program. Some people can benefit from like the medical, what is it? Like MAT. So, like you were talking about, like Suboxone, methadone, those kind of treatments. Everything can lead to better quality of life. I personally think that therapy, like that there should be a component of a therapeutic intervention. I think a lot of people that no matter what background you come from, when you are going into dark places to and being vulnerable to get substances, uh, things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be exposed to things that are mentally harmful to you. Um, and so I think that there should be a component of that. Um, the mental health, physical, so like a holistic approach for me. I think that that can be really beneficial. So we're looking at the mind, body, and soul of an individual and treating all those different parts.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me because so many of the modalities have they they believe very heavily in one thing, like, oh, it's in the mind, or it's in the body, in the brain, or it's the spiritual thing that they're lacking, and they get so sucked into this like one path. And I really agree with you that I think that it takes an holistic approach, just like you said. I mean, it's so much more than just one of those elements, and each person's addiction is so unique, just like they are as a person. And so I think it's really important to like that integrated approach is like really important in my opinion as well. Okay, here's the last question, and it's probably the hardest one. But um, what do you think that we can do here? Let's talk specifically like in the US. Like what's something that we can push for change in, and become activists in, that you think will actually create like a meaningful and lasting change? Like what's something that we can actually do about this issue?
So first off, like treating the entire family. Uh,
Mm,
So, I mean, at the center is, say, the addict or the person who is struggling with substance use disorder, but then around them, and we've been so brainwashed by like like intervention and stuff. So that TV kind of, and it's such a sad story too, because they show you this whole the intervention, and they show you like, and they tell you like, cut the person off, write the letters, and so but when we're talking about holistic approach, we're like treating the uh we're treating the whole person, but then we're treating the whole family. So we're looking at like, what, like, what kind of codependency, what kind of things are hindering, what kind of things are lacking, like, what kind of support does the entire family need? So we're talking about grandmas, grandpas, parents, children,
Mm.
and how do we wrap around the entire family for healing and change? And I think we're so dead set on just like treating the person, and then we send the person back. So instead of really putting the resources around the family, we treat the individual, because that's what the insurance will pay for, and that's what, and so we send them back, and they go right back in the environment, and things haven't changed, feelings haven't changed, resentments haven't changed. So I think like when you go to treatment, maybe you have like one therapy appointment with the family or whatever. That's just not enough. That's not enough to, one session to say, fuck you for stealing grandma's heirloom jewelry.
Right. Yeah.
And so all those things are still the same. And so we want to see like this huge change happen. But, if a person's really like lost a lot of things and severed a lot of relationships, that's a lot of work, and we're expecting alcoholics and addicts to like change, like in such a really fast, like, so when you come home after a month, when you come home after 3 months, like, we expect all these changes from you, but the person's been living like this for so long. They've picked up so many um so many survival skills, like, which can be so useful, I mean, all the bidding, all of the energy, all of the things that went into keep not only keeping yourself safe on the streets or wherever you were, to do the things that you needed to do to survive. But then we ask you to just come back in society, be a well-rounded person, and act right, And so that's a lot of pressure, and I think for someone to understand that you're not going to change overnight, and the family's not going to change overnight either. Like, there's a lot of work there's a lot of relationship building that needs to happen, like a lot of healing, like with relationships. So communication and all these skills that are learned over years of time, they don't happen overnight.
Mm. I I really appreciate that suggestion, and I think that it almost surprises me because it seems so realistic. And I've been racking my brain about like, what can we do? That's something that could be very applicable. Like,
Mhm.
what I think needs to happen in that way is that there needs to be, yeah, there need to be family specialists in each of the field in regards to the treatment of addiction, and those people's insurance needs to basically agree to pay for like the not just being the addict, but being in direct relation with an addict. Like, that needs to be something that insurance companies are willing to, like,
Yeah,
pay
something
for.
could easily be, I mean, there's like so much that could easily, especially in like peer support. So we were talking about, so do you have lived experience in, so for a job of a parent partner, so it doesn't matter like what kind of schooling you've had, it doesn't matter like what you've done. What matters is, have you parented a child who has behavioral health challenges. If you haven't, you cannot have this job.
Mm.
You know, and then the same thing. Have you had a family member who is this been part of your experience? Have you, and what does the recovery look like for you? Like, what are the necessary steps that you've done? So it's like for me, like, what are the systems that I've navigated? So, do you have experience with a family member who has struggled with substance use disorder? If so, then you are qualified for this position. Um, and there's like many different things that there's a thing called craft. It's like it's a training that specifically was developed for family members struggling with people that are dealing with substance use disorder. So that could be part of it. But so when the person checks into the treatment center, then the family gets to start beginning to receive services. So, and these are like conflict resolution, healthy communication, boundaries, all of the things that, you know, and then they are able to have a therapist. So they're able to process some of their feelings. And by the time that families can get a loved one into treatment, they're so effing desperate. So they're willing to do whatever. So they're willing to go to the classes and the support groups and the trainings. They're willing to do that. So it's not that Medicaid couldn't bill for it, because they could. And the families are so desperate that they're willing, they want change so bad by the time they get their loved one in and they're not dead yet, they're willing to do all that work. This is a prime, they call it striking while the iron's hot.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's where I feel like real true change could happen. And so like kind of like how Wise was birthed through, and then you know we got Ricky's Law. So like something like that could be birthed through the same thing as like something can be developed where the whole family is getting support and the resources that they need.
What is
So
Ricky's Law?
Ricky's Law was has been put in place that is the um, oh uh, where they can be court ordered for treatment. So Ricky died, and then a friend of Ricky's ended up going to legislation to get the bill passed. So like if they show up in an emergency room or something, they can be forcefully detained to do treatment.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like certain ways about it, but so they can order them. And so some of the treatment facilities, most of them are filled with like half of people that once they show up for like an overdose at the hospital, then they can be court ordered detained. That's right, detained, and then really forced to do treatment.
And Ricky's Law prevents that or promotes that?
Promotes that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. So like you keep ODing and you're showing up at Sacred Heart, they can put a hold, they'll put a hold on you. And so that was birthed from Ricky's Law. So I'm saying if they can birth Ricky's Law, then they can build up a program that supports the families. Because we were talking about, oh, even Ricky's Law, like, so Johnny is detained again and he is at ABHS, you know, and he's like, F everybody. You know, the second he gets out, but that would even give a family like 3 weeks of support of things that they could do. Like, what are the resources that they're entitled to? Because you can't control what another person is going to do. But also, like, if we're in this, so we're in a homeless epidemic, you know, we're in a drug epidemic, and most of these people go back to their families. Don't they deserve some support as well?
Mm-hmm.
How to navigate this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's a huge missing piece of the puzzle. And
Raising the grandchildren, and they need intensive case management, they need a therapist, and they need a peer support person to help them along the way.